guys, it's Matt from Vagabond Recordings, and we're back here in the mix. I'm showing you guys how I got Sleepjacket's sound on their new single, Up. Go check it out on their bandcamp. By now, as of the time of these videos, it'll be up and available. They're accepting donations, so I'm sure they'd appreciate it if you guys chipped in whatever you can, 20 cents, $1, whatever you think it's worth. They worked hard on it. I worked hard on it. I don't get any of that money on the back end. They already paid for their time, so it's not a paid endorsement. But we're gonna get into what I did on the guitars, and we'll start off on the guitar bus this time. Like I said, I took off that 100 hertz and below. Well, this says 38, but you can see the curve comes down after about 150, and that doesn't really affect the sound. You don't want to go too far into the bottom of the guitar and really affect things. So I did it again here on the individual tracks for Maddie's rhythm parts. I also took out some unwanted frequencies. I try not to boost too much for frequencies because it can really just overemphasize stuff, especially when you get to the compressors at the end. So I took a little bit of the high end off because Maddie, if you watch the Guitar Day videos, he recorded with 2 Telecasters, and they're really mid-range and treble heavy. So being that it's the rhythm guitar, it's a little problematic, but we made our way around it. The bass complements things very well. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody else's parts here, and I'll show you Maddie's guitars. I panned them left and right. He double tracked, so we used 2 different guitars, but we used the same amp and same cab. I wish we would have changed more myself. I changed the mic position, but I don't think that was enough, and it's one of those things we'll learn from, and we'll get there next time. So let's check these out. Okay, so I like his guitar tone. It's just not your typical rhythm sound there. So nothing fancy there. A little bit of compression at the end of each one, taking out a little bit of the nasty frequencies. But for Greg, the lead player, also from Suburban Sound Development, we panned him directly in the center, and normally you wouldn't really do that, especially not for the whole song, but his guitar tone is so bright that it doesn't really affect the bass, so the bass fills it out and it leaves room for the kick drum still. So let me show you the chorus here with all the guitars in. Yeah, so they blend well together. His trebly tone really cuts through all the rest of the mix. So I didn't really have to do much for that. Same thing, I took off some of the low end. I did boost one frequency that gave it kind of a mid-range oomph to it. Took out some nastiness down in what was like 2K. Now the unique thing we did about Greg's tone here, and the way we recorded it, if you watch the video, I talked about bi-amping. And what bi-amping is in his case, he had a pedal board and it has a stereo output. So the left side we put through his rocker, and the right side we put through his little Tiny Terror, both orange amps. We ran them through different cabs. We recorded them at the same time, and then I inverted the micro Terror tone to make it sound like it was recorded at two different points, because the signals were processed in two different ways. Otherwise, if you just put two microphones on one cab, the waves kind of intertwine with each other, and even if you invert it, it'll actually ruin your sound. So doing it this way gave us the fullness we wanted without having to deal with the intricacies of his pedal board, because he has a lot of effects going on. So we kind of breezed through that section, so let's hear the drums and the guitars together here in the chorus. So it sounds nice together, but it's lacking some of that fullness. And we'll go ahead and dive into the bass here. We'll talk about it really briefly. I have some cuts on the bass bus around where the kick has a boost, just so we can clear up some space and they can live happily together. And we took out some of this mid-range where the guitar lives, the rhythm guitar that is. And if you watch the bass and vocal day, we took a direct in from the Yamaha into my Aphex, and I used the proprietary Line 6 bass amp that comes with Reason, and I added a little compression to it. They play in drop C, so you have to use a compressor to kind of clean up some of that flabbiness that happens naturally, especially on bass. And this says 2x15, but this is in fact a 1x15 that we mic'd up. I was just very lazy in naming it. And when I put my KBM 412 CAD kick drum mic in front of it. So again, you see a cut where the bass drum is. Took out a nasty frequency there, added some presence, some grittiness there. And I split the frequencies so I could do multi-band compression. This was a bit of a pain to set up by hand. Other programs, free programs like Reaper, have multi-band compressors built in, so you don't have to worry about how I set this up, because it looks like a mess back here, as it would probably be in real life. But I split it so I can compress the really low end with the mid and high, and the mid and high separately, so I can control kind of how the bass runs. And this gritty DI is actually, I took the DI, I bounced it out and put it into Reaper, where I have a SansAmp clone, and I gave it this really gritty, distorted kind of sound, overdriven, and I compressed that too. So we'll hear that together with the guitars and the drums. We'll do the chorus. So the bass really complements everything here. It really fills in where the rhythm guitar is lacking kind of the bass tone. But what really is awesome is this breakdown here where we have the gritty DI bass. And let me show you that. Okay, so it fills in very nicely, and that obviously that gritty part was just nasty, gross, like distorted bass, and it was amazing. It sits in there very well. It adds some really cool accent. The guitars drop out. There's very limited drums. There's no vocals happening there. So it kind of becomes like an emphasis, and it really comes through because distortion adds like natural harmonics to a bass, and it really can help it stand out in a mix. So even if you use like a less exaggerated form of it, sometimes it'll really help your bass stand out. Alright guys, well that's about it for this video. Next time we'll talk about the cleans and the vocals that we did here, and that should, well, we'll talk about the mastering too. Make sure to go over and check out Sleepjacket. Check out my Facebook, like and subscribe if you want more of this kind of content. I have a sub-series that will be coming out soon. We'll announce that officially before too long. And I'll have other artists in here, and I'll do a how-to on some other stuff. And yeah, comment below if there's anything specific you guys want to see, or you want me to answer, or you think I can improve on, or you want me to try. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.
I can't swim you back to shore. You can tie your own